Are you in need of some spiritual vitamin C? Well, I believe you came to the right place. My name is Kenya, and welcome to Spiritual Vitamin C, my podcast designed to fuel your spirit by feeding it the Word of God. So open up your spiritual medicine cabinet, your ears, eyes, and heart, and let's fill up on some spiritual vitamin C, which is truly the Word of God. Have you ever had times in your life where you were weighted down? You woke up exhausted, went to bed overwhelmed. Your sleep was restless, turning, tossing. You got up exhausted, as I had already stated, and you're doing things, getting things done, checking boxes off that proverbial list, but you feel unfulfilled. Kind of the illusion that I get in my head, or the image rather, is a little dog chasing his tail, right? He's expending massive amounts of energy. He's barking and his little heart is, the little heart rate is racing. But the truth is he's doing nothing. It looks interesting for a second, but then it's super annoying. And the person who's looking on is like, help this little dog settle down and give him some water, because once he finishes, his little heart is like racing and he's panting and he needs water. He's exhausted, but he accomplished absolutely nothing. So in this week's episode entitled Busy Doing Nothing, the story of Martha, Mary, and Jesus, we are so going to talk about that. So stay tuned. I will be reading from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42 in the NIV. Let's read. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." So, in this episode entitled Busy Doing Nothing, the story of Martha, Mary, and Jesus, we are dealing with Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 42, and a very exciting story. When I've ever heard this story preached or taught or even brought up casual conversation, what I have never heard is what I learned, some of the cultural norms that existed in Jewish culture of that day. I never really have heard that ever brought out for greater clarity as when I studied this story out. So the amazing thing about Martha in this story, she's always talked about as, she's busy doing a bunch of stuff. Jesus even tells her that she's distracted and she's kind of everywhere in her mind. But what people may not realize, in Jewish culture, obligation was to take care of the home, take care of the family, raise the children. They weren't out sitting at the feet of a rabbi, being taught of him. Now, true, they could learn Torah from family members, but they just weren't at temple such as the men were. So when Martha had invited Jesus and his disciples into her home, which indicates that she was possibly the mistress, a widow. Some commentators say as well as her younger sister and her brother living with her. So you have Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And you have Martha welcoming Jesus and his disciples into her home. So she's the hostess. She's handling business. That was well within her expectation, obligation as a Jewish woman. What was kind of phenomenal about this story was Mary. Mary was out of order, according to expectations, obligations, and cultural norms for a woman of that day. She was at the feet of Jesus, and that phrase, sitting at the feet, like Paul sat at the feet of Gamaliel, who was an amazing rabbi, and Paul was a very studious, like the perfect student. And so it's a position of vulnerability. It's submitting to a rabbi's authority, a teacher's authority, downloading their wisdom constantly with them, constantly receiving instruction, constantly asking questions. They are being groomed. That's what Jewish men, students did. And Jesus, rabbi, even though we know he was more than a rabbi, he was the Son of God, he had disciples. So his disciples were at his feet. That phrase. And so what we see in this story is that Mary assumes the posture of being at the feet of Jesus, almost like a disciple. Jesus comes in, is welcomed by Martha. She's the mistress. She's the host. It's expected that this is her role, and she does it well. Mary veers, and she pursues Jesus. Jesus comes to her home, and she soaks up everything that he is willing to give her. What a phenomenal occurrence that a Jewish woman would break norms to get to Jesus. But we have seen that more than once. We have seen, just because I'm a woman, so of course I have to throw it out there, we have seen women in the Bible who broke through the cultural norms to get to Jesus. But we've seen it on the other side as well, men. Whenever God wanted to get to somebody, and he knew that a soul needed him, he broke through whatever barriers had to be broken through to get to a soul. We saw that with Jesus and the woman at the well. And so we see the exact same thing happening here. Mary chose the best part. Mary chose the most important part. This was the Son of God. Jesus gave her what she expected. And so the principles to really take away from this story is that in our lives, we can be doing what's expected, what's obligation, but it may not be the thing that God is calling us to. And so we can't ever just live in the state of, I'm so stuck in my cultural norm and what's expected of me as a woman, what's expected of me as an African American woman, what's expected of me as a Christian woman, what's expected of me as a single woman. That's not to be disrespectful in any way, but it's our mind and our heart is open to what God is saying at any given time. He may be saying, not this way today, but I need you to follow me. Very much like in service, right? When the Spirit of God comes in, sometimes we're not even sure which way to go, because it can be easier to just follow what's wrote on the program. But it takes faith, courage, a relationship with God to know that I know that I studied this lesson like for days and weeks, and I fasted and prayed, but God is saying, go another way. God is saying, don't even look at the notes. I need to use you in a very specific way. And so we see this principle following where God is leading us. We see that play out in this story. And so when we're not where God would have us be, even though where we are, it may be what's expected of us, but what is God expecting of us? Every day, what are you expecting of us? Sometimes, some of us, if we be honest, we're arrested in our past. trying to make up for things that didn't happen, or trying to prove that we are something, trying to get over all of these things, right? And so sometimes we can either find ourselves arrested in the past, or we're so angst-ridden about the future, how things are going to fall out, that we never, ever, ever just live in the present. And when we are arrested in the past or so angst about the future, we miss God, because God is in every single day of our life. God guides us every single day. Goodness and mercy follows us every single day. And in the moment, every single day, God guides us. There is an agenda, there's an objective that we must execute every single day. And if we are so stuck in what we're supposed to do and never acknowledge the Lord, and I'm not saying acknowledge God like a one-time thing, the lifestyle of acknowledging God, we'll miss him. We'll miss him, and we'll miss the beautiful moments. Mary did something exceptional. She went countercultural, and she sat at the feet of Jesus. And Jesus said, because she did that, what he is giving her will never be taken away from her, because she's chosen the better of the two. Totally paraphrasing, but we have to see the principle in the story. I have a way that things are supposed to go, Lord, but I bow to your will. I know that every Tuesday I eat pot pie, but I bow to your will. Total example. But the truth of the example is real. If Jesus were to come into our house physically, and he comes into the living room, what is our initial reaction, right? What's instinctively coming up in us? Do we find ourselves running around the house, trying to get things in order? Or do we spend time with the Master because he chose to come to our house today? And every single day, we should choose Jesus. What brought this entire podcast episode about was a few weeks ago, I had just been feeling so not overwhelmed, but I just said to myself, I miss God. I miss our time together. I miss being able to shut down everything and go in on Bible study for hours. And nothing else matters in the moment. And I found, just because of the season and the things that I were doing, I was able to do Bible study, but it wasn't that in-depth Bible study. I wasn't able to just pull away and just journal, right? Those are things that are super important to me. And I found myself missing him in that way. And then I found myself frustrated because I felt like I was just running through life. Like, okay, what did I do last week? Like last week's a blur, because I did so much of something to where I can't really tell you in great detail on any given day what I really did. So then, of course, I told the Lord, and I have it on my calendar, I told him I'm going to start this challenge that every day I'm going to pick one thing that stood out to me, and I'm going to put it on my calendar. And then I'm going to pray for one person. Now, this prayer for this one person is totally outside of my devotional time in the morning, right? This is on top. So that was my challenge. I'm going to pick out one thing that I enjoyed about the day, put it on my calendar, and then I'm also going to put on my calendar, the one person that I am praying for. So that when I look back a month from now, it won't just be a blur. It'll be things to jog my memory, because I don't want at the end of my life to look back and I don't remember anything, because I was so busy flying through life. That's what brought everything on about the challenge, because I was flying through my little days and weeks and not really taking time. The things that matter. For me, God is my life. He's my everything. Family matters, friends matter. God is the foundation for which all of those wonderful things flow out of. And if He is not in His rightful place, nothing else seems right. And if God is not in His rightful place, have you ever gone to bed exhausted, woke up tired, and you almost cried because you got to get up? You're just so exhausted. If we put God first, He will let us know what's important. What's important today? And so the last couple of weeks, I have gone into a consecration and I've asked the Lord to help reset my life. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I need to be where God needs me to be. That's where I'm at still. My focus now is reset. And that was when I was, starting my first week of consecration and prayer, that was what I told the Lord. I said, this is reset. I need things to change in my life so that I can be where you need me. So I can be Mary. Martha was right in what she did. She was within her cultural obligation as a woman, cultural expectation as a Jewess. That is what she was supposed to do. But Mary understood. She chose Jesus over and above what she was supposed to do. Expectations. And so a couple of weeks ago, I chose God. And a lot of things just fell to the wayside. And God, when we pursue God, He'll help us manage all that stuff. And what I found is my mind was quieter. I was happier. And I'm still in that place. Right? I don't want to go through my life exhausted. I don't want to go through my life and look back after 10 years and can't remember anything because I went so fast trying to do everything to where I never really did anything that mattered. So now I'm at a place where I want to do things that matter. And the Lord is helping me to triage every day. What actually matters, Lord, today, Monday? What actually matters tomorrow, Tuesday? What actually matters on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday? What is actually important? I know I could do a lot of stuff, but I don't want to just do a bunch of stuff. And you're calling me away to come and seek you, to call you, so that you can show me great and mighty things that I know not of hitherto. So that's going to be the challenge for this week. I'll give to you all, the listeners. What is God saying to you right now in your life? Where does He want you to go? Is He calling you away? Is He calling you to a deeper place of consecration, a closer walk with Him, giving up some things, adding some things? Where is He in your life right now? What does He want from you? So let's look at that story. Everyone harped on Martha, but she was doing what she was supposed to do. But Mary chose to reject what was expected of her, and she chose Jesus. It is right to have structure and things that we're supposed to do. I am not knocking that. We should have order. We should have structure. There are obligations and there are expectations, but we can't ever be so stuck that we can't pull away when God is asking us to come closer. And God is calling me closer. Right? I'm in a season of new things. So whatever it takes, is where I'm at right now, Lord. I'm willing to put the work in, to put the time in, so that I can go to that next place. And, now waking up because of that challenge, I still have that challenge about one person I pray for every day. And no matter who it is, right, whoever it just comes to my mind, or if I have anyone in particular that kind of seems to just be stirring in my mind at when I wake up in the morning, I pray for that person. And then I scan my day at the end, and I choose one thing that really stood out, and I put it on my calendar. And I'm going to do that until I feel a release to let go. Because what I want to do is, over the next couple of months, when I look back, when I'm in, February, God willing, I want to be able to look back in December and say, oh yeah, I remember that. And bring a smile to my face. Oh yeah, I remember that. And bring a smile to my face. And even if it was a hard day, oh yeah, I remember that, because God's grace got me through it, and still put a smile on my face, because life is worth living, and life with God is just so amazing. So that's the challenge for this week. Is God calling you closer? What is God saying to you in the moment? He's come to your house to visit. Who are you? Are you Martha, or are you Mary? That's the question I leave with you. Have a good week. If you enjoyed this episode of Spiritual Vitamin C, please subscribe. I would also love it if you would rate it and leave a review. I look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, life needs a dose of Christ.